The Aesthetics of Leadership podcast, the look of leadership that is unmistakable.
What's up, brother?
There's my brother from another mother after 10 years of separate birthing. Here we are back together in conversation, man. What a privilege.
My smile says it all, man.
Can you believe it's been a decade since we first connected and you were one of the most affable and considerate and just a warrior in helping represent my brand that was just coming into existence, and you welcomed it, and you've been nothing but a champion ever since. I'm so grateful for you, Kody. You are a true lion out there, a fantastic warrior, and a man I madly respect. Love you, brother. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. And you know what? I have a very keen sense of telling quality when I see it first up front, man. I'm very good at under reading people, and I read your good quality, and that's why I stuck with you.
Well, I mean, you took a risk, right? It's a brand new brand. Don't know me, don't know the brand, and yet you saw something and you believed in it. And I would say that is exactly what I saw on the other side was you were just entering into your realm of possibility back then and exploring the realm of opportunity and abundance around you. And we've been on a awesome journey together for 10 years. And a lot has happened in that period of time, right?
Yeah, man, it's so cool because honestly, I'll give this really big compliment to you, and it's I have always had friends and high school and or college and or whatever, but I never had like the type of supportive friendship that you started and give, you gave first. And I've never had that type of friendship. So when you were giving it to me, I was like, yeah, cool. This is easy friendship for me. This is what I thought friendship should be. And I never really had a good example of that because it always seemed like somebody was using you for some reason to be your friend. And that's how I always felt. And once I started having some kind of status or having some kind of like physicality to me and personality, then people started like, oh, let me friend along. And I was like, you were never that one. You were never that one. You were always that one. Like every single week, I would get a message from you, regardless of how long it's been, whatever happened, and you would give me a message. And that was just a really cool lifeline of friendship. So I thank you for that. That's an um, incredible relationship in my life. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, thanks for that, dude. I received that. That's amazing to hear. How wonderful. Kody, we've spoken before on this podcast. I think your origin story is at least in the aesthetics of leadership story frame, if you will. But you've been consistent in one area for a long time, and that is your physical health, that is driven by something really special up here mentally. But I would say there's a purpose that keeps trying to express itself in the world, in the lives of the men that you want to serve. And it's amazing what you've been able to do this far, but you certainly want to scale it. So I want to talk about that at some point. But really, my curiosity is, what is Kody passionate about talking today in the time that we have? I would love to go where you want to drive this ship.
You know, I I'm so interested and fascinated by everything, and that is why I think I excel, is because I am generally curious. Everything it's so fascinating to me. How do people survive? How does the body keep on adapting, overcoming, and evolving? We're a product of over 2 million years of evolution. This shit blows my mind every single day that I get to learn more. I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how to unlock the next level. I need to
Mm,
figure out how to bring the full potential out of me. And that's what I'm just insanely driven for.
mm.
Um, when I started doing it, I never had any type of uh like my origin story. I never had any type of idea of ever helping anybody else. It was simply just survival for me, I guess.
Yeah, it was
And
Kody being Kody, right?
yeah, and once you realize that there's so many great people out there like you, like I just gave you that mention, no matter what, you always showed up and you always said, happy Thursday. I hope you have a great day. You inspire me, you push me. Those words were just always a driving center backbone. And it was like every time I would get in a spot or I'd feel some kind of way, you and or the other people that I have inspired just through my action of trying to better myself, right? And trying to find my own way, trying to lead my own family. All of those comments back were just reassurance of like, I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing. Because it's very hard to know if you are on the right path or if you are doing the right thing. When I first heard the word purpose, I never really got taught that in school or by even my parents. I had a great upbringing. I had a phenomenal upbringing, and that's also why I think I owe it to the world to shine that light that I am, because I know a lot of people, especially young boys, do not get the father, the mother, the community family that I got. So that, and I have currently, and I've created, but just having the example from my father and my mother and my uncles and my close family was so damn great. How could I ever spoil that? So that's kind of like where all of my beginnings started is, going through my own battles. We all have the same middle school, bullies and problems and, blah, blah, blah. But that shit actually traumatized me, number one, because when somebody's picking at your fat all day and someone's poking fun at you, there's nothing you can do about it because you're in that body and they keep go. It's like a bunch of crabs, like crabs in a bucket
Yeah.
when you're in front of the bucket and like just because you're doing good, they start pulling you down type of deal. And I remember in middle school that I was like, you know what? One day I cried and I was like, I'm gonna just better myself and I'm gonna put all my effort into no girls wanted me, no sports teams wanted me. I couldn't make the cut, right? Typical story. But all those little things and those little jabs and all those times made me who I am now because I used all of that for energy. And I
Mm.
remember listening to Les Brown that day that I cried. And he said, I was just listening to random YouTube at the time. And he said, I forgot what he was saying. He was saying, if you have a will, I'll show you the way. If you fall down, make sure you land on your back because if you can look up, you can get up. He just kept on like reassuring that it doesn't matter if you fail, doesn't matter what happens, you get poked at, you can recreate yourself into anything you want from this moment forward.
Mm.
And that was the first real thing that changed something in my mind. And I said, you know what? I give my permission to never give up again. I will never get sad. I'll never get down, maybe temporarily, but this is it. I will never give up. And one of the main things that he said was, you can fail, but it's not like what was it? You can't fail if you don't quit. So he said, you can't fail if you don't quit. If you quit, then you fail. It's just a bump in the road if you don't if you get back up again and keep coming and get back up again and keep coming. And that shit stuck with me. So I was like, I don't care what happens. I am going to digest and eat what comes at me, and I'm going to be a conductor of energy. And I've always been
Mm.
so fascinated by like Nikola Tesla and just the principles of Newton's energy laws these things just fascinated me because I'm curious about life. And I kind of took those and transformed it into my own, I don't know, what do I want to say? Like my own Thor, where I can control my own energy, right? I can take in that negative I felt like in middle school and then high school, the beginning of high school, every single day I was getting something thrown at me, and like not physically, but bullies, girls, no sports teams, not being invited to pool parties because of my insecurity of my body. I'd be the only one with a t-shirt on and I'd have to cover myself up. Those insecurities just bit at my roots
Mm.
until I finally said, I control this. I'm the one that can take that energy. Energy is not created nor destroyed. So wherever that energy coming in, it has to go somewhere. So am I going to let it in and crumble me and rot me? Or am I going to take that energy, be the conductor, and transform it to the positive life and energy that I want to see? And
Yeah.
that's the piece that changed everything for me. And that is why I have stayed so relentless and ruthless on becoming the best me, only because it was so damn hard and it still continues to be hard. And every revolution of that cycle, a new me is born and it's a stronger, evolved me. And that's where I'm currently at now with finding my purpose, with
Yeah.
helping
I
others.
I see that. I see that so much, man. You have had so much come at you over the
Oh,
10 years that I've known you, and your consistency, courage, strength, and grit are the foundational characteristics that keep shining through. You cannot beat Kody Thompson down. He is falling out on his back and he's looking up. And you said something that really struck me, Kody, and I think that is a classic conundrum that young men find themselves facing is you said you were trying to find the right path, the right direction, and and I think for a lot of young people, there's so much gravity around getting the answer right versus taking some risk on the strengths that you have and stepping forward anyway. I'd love your perspective on that because, yeah, let's just start the conversation there. Do we have to get it right?
that's a very good question. Um, it is, it's so funny because your brain will tell you that that's the truth and you have to get it right. And there's a perfect formula. And even now, I still fight against that, right? It's always going to be there, I feel. If you have any type of that thought process at all in your life, it will always be there. And that's why I say, like, you can't get comfortable. You can't get complacent. You have to completely um, challenge and fight that path. You can't just say, there's one right way, and I see these guys on YouTube and I see these guys on TikTok and I see these guys all around. We're competing one on billions now because everybody has an internet connection and computer and smartphones. Before, evolutionarily, we would be competing one for 10. So one man and 10 women you were competing for in that tribe or in that community. And then it slowly grows. But now it seems so crazy, overblown that we're comparing ourselves every single day with the right path. And it's like, it's not the right path, it's finding your path. So it's so hard to hear that and actually do it, but you
Mm.
have to go and trip and fall. You have to fall on your back. You have to figure it out. You got to get heartbroken. I'm working with a guy right now, and he's got everything except for romantic relationship. So I'm trying to help him with the ladies. And he just is stuck to this super romantic, super, I'm going to say it like simpy style and where he's bending over backwards and going above and beyond and doing everything so much that he pushes them all away. And because I believe it's just like what you just said, that's why I'm talking about it, rolls right into it. We're taught and told that there's one path of romanticism and there's one way to do it and there's one way, be this guy, be that. That's not your way, or it's not working for you, or how are you so unique by doing the same approach and the same thing that everybody wants you to do, right? Women will tell you one thing and they really want you to do another. You're married. I'm not going to get you in trouble.
I do what I'm told
I'm
always,
not going to
Kody.
get you in trouble. But it really talks to the point of what you just said. He was so conditioned to think that he's got to find the right way and always be Mr. Nice Guy. And I told him that the Mr. Nice Guy thing will work in the beginning, and then it will, all right, I'm kind of sick of this. Like, you always do everything. You're always there. And they've done studies on this. And women are like, we don't want a Mr. Nice Guy. We're not attracted to that. We want somebody who is blazing their path in their passion, in their field, and they are just displaying their skills and their effort and their ambition. That's attractive. So when you say that, like the right way versus your way, you got to punch a whole bunch of different things to figure out which one's going to drop and open up that door. You got to figure it out. And it's so scary to figure it out.
It is, man. It is, because I think there's
you did the same. You've done the same thing.
Absolutely. And I feel like in those younger years, when you're in transition from the teenage years into young adulthood, there's so much gravity on people are asking you, what do you want to do what do you want to, what do you want to major in? What do you want to be when you grow up? Like, well, there's only one answer. And boy, it better be right, because I sure don't want to tell them I messed up. So there's that little dynamic going. But Kody, what I've seen you do, and I think the payoff is going to be great, is that you are unapologetically, authentically Kody.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you parlay those skills in the way you communicate with confidence, you love with confidence, you're passionate with confidence, you're in relationship in confidence. And I think that goes a long way, that you after those formative years that were tough, there was a solid core of Kody that became alive. And I'm curious, most people are going to go, how did Kody become unapologetically, authentically Kody? Maybe that's what I need to do first before I go try to be in a relation, before I try to go get the right job, before I try to take too many risks. I better get right first. How did Kody do that?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a very good point. And I wrote a couple things down because I want to pick apart that question real quick. When you said purpose, and you said a lot of people coming from, like, the question was of those formative years and that building that core piece of, let's just say it like it is, not giving a shit and just being you. You know what it was? I'll tell you the truth, exactly what it was. And it's not pretty. It was that I was a hider and a faker and a liar to morph in with the crowd and get acceptance and feel like I'm a part of. And that's the only way that I could do it at first, is by being a liar, a faker, and
You were a chameleon.
I was a fucking chameleon, 100%. And I can now see how narcissism could be built, because a narcissist, and I've had a lot of experience with this, with my family having relations with real narcissists and having to save them from it. I have so much understanding now of, like, when you just asked that question, how being a chameleon to survive and not being yourself is what everybody is forced to do And then you put in the vanity of everything and the status hierarchy. And when we look at young men anyways, that's the topic we're talking about today, is that transition. That's where I'm super passionate. I didn't tell you that exactly, but that is where I'm passionate, and we're already down that road. But I really want to make that clear, is where can you make that transition? How can you make that transition from being that person of chameleon? And there's still grown adults in that right now, many. And the way that I like to, it's why we have such a divide right now with the political atmosphere, right? It's when at one side of things, one political opponent is so out there and authentic and real, doesn't give a shit about whatever you think he says, and it is just there. Donald Trump is just that way. And then that completely like excludes the emotional side of things. So that's why it's emotion versus just logic and get this done. And we've got a complete divide here with that. Now, a lot of young men go through that. A lot of people go through, well, I'm supposed to be tough and I'm supposed to do this, but then you're being pulled in that other direction also to fit in and do what the girls want and do what the school wants and do what everybody else wants you to do and be. So you're forced to be this chameleon. I can't get 100% credit to myself. My father was the perfect example of this. And that is what I mean by he's the perfect example of not giving a shit, is what I mean. And being authentic to himself. I can remember many, many occasions of him being completely ridiculed and challenged to the degree that would break most men. And he just came from a hard upbringing. And he came from a very aggressive, hard upbringing of a father, a male figure. And his only rule and law to parent his son, he told me, was to make it better than what his dad did to him. And I'm a living proof that he did. And we have many conversations that, kind of get tearful over, because he's like, damn, man, like you did it, I did it, and you did it, and you're doing it, and this is fucking awesome. And we have these conversations randomly. I'll just text him randomly and text him a long thing and say, hey, yes, I am the 2.0 version of you. I am better. I am bigger. I am stronger. I am smarter. But there's no damn way that I would be here if I didn't have the example of you. And that is a huge piece of what I got to see my entire life, was that man going up against those and not breaking who he was, and setting clear boundaries of what he was willing to go to and where he wasn't willing to cross, meaning he wasn't willing to be a chameleon in any sorts. And everybody, when I grew up, we're kind of like looking at him like, man, like the outcast almost, right? Like, that man is hard. That man is really rigid, and he just is authentic though. And so many people, even though maybe a few feelings would be hurt, so many people respected that man. And I got to see that. And still to this day, he's 65. He's in the best shape of his life. He's living life to the fullest right now. And he's just so elated with the man that I've become. And I thank him every time for giving me that example, but also who made me the authentic me is this is a huge part of this whole conversation, is what we just talked about, male role models. Like him, you, Greg Plitt. I mean, Greg Plitt was like I got him hanging up on my office here at all times, my shrine of him. Just the words spoken to me, and the boundaries enforced, and the masculinity that every one of these people, basically, I told myself, be that chameleon, but be the chameleon where you're taking the best pieces of all these great people and become even better, become better. That's your job. You had the best upbringing ever, okay? And yeah, okay, you had a little trauma, you had a little bit of that, But now it's time to shine your damn light. It's time to be that lighthouse, not the tugboat, right? So I say that a lot when I'm talking and coaching with people. I'm like, I always went out to people and help people and help people, and it burned me out. And it made me kind of lose sight of who I was. And I didn't know what steps to go next and what my purpose was next. And then once I hired a coach, and every damn conversation we had was a little fiber in that clothing, right? It just fortified more and more and more that I need to plant my flag and I need to pursue my purpose, meaning I'm building my lighthouse, I'm staying in one spot, and I'm shining all the way out to the sea. And anybody who is in troubled conditions, check my light. I'm guiding you in. I can't come and save you. Nobody's going to come and save you. And you know what's funny about this is when things go bad, you want somebody to come save you. And I commend you also for that with me in this relationship. In the beginning of our relationship, I I was in such financial shit that my car was being repossessed at the little time that I was talking to you. I got evicted from apartment. I had a child. We split up. Everything was on my shoulders. And I was expecting anybody who wanted to help me to come and write me a fat check. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and the best thing that happened was exactly what you gave me, and that was just friendship and this person that I knew was always going to be there. You're always going to be positive, always encouraging, always telling me how bright my light is, always pushing and encouraging me to keep fucking going. Where would I be if I didn't have that? I don't know. I don't know. So I think that that is a huge ass part is number one, pillar one has to be your role models. If you didn't have a father like I did, if you don't have an Edwin like I do, you have to figure out online. First of all, that's the cheapest way to find it. Vet the people, try to figure out whether are they living the life I want to live? Does it look too fake? Are they authentic? Is everything about them authentic? What's the example that I want to live from? It's that life. Okay, that's who I'm going to follow. And then the next level is you actually getting in touch with that person and working a little bit deeper with them and having conversations. Whether that means you got to save up all your money and do it, and sacrifice something else that you're not going to pay for, do it because it's going to get you so much further. And knowing now what I know, I wish I would have done that. So basically, everything I'm iterating now is what I would have wanted to know from that high school time forward. And
Yeah. Yeah,
it,
that's fair, man. What I'm hearing you say is that if you can find someone that'll hold space for you
bingo.
to at least open up and express what you love, what you hate, what you're feeling, ask you the good questions to make you speak the words about yourself. It I think that's where it starts, right? You've had that. Your dad created some space, your mentors created some space for you, and maybe it's not that you have to go acquire more, that you have to do all this stuff, that you have to read all this crap, that you have to study for years before it becomes yours. There's something you've been gifted with that nobody's held the space for you to um, speak it into existence and to realize it's something to stand on. And that's what a good mentor and a good coach, a good parent, a good friend should do for you. So I thank you for saying that. I think that's the first step in those men who are stuck or stagnant and not sure of the way forward. Find somebody to just hold the space to hold you up. And you might have to borrow some of their energy, some of their light in the short term to stoke the fire within you so that it starts shining. I love your perspective on that.
Yeah, and not all the time is it that you should add to your situation, because once you start juggling too many plates and doing too many things, you're more apt to drop them. Okay. So I have a PhD in that. I know what that feels like. Okay. And I feel like a lot of people feel like that, especially young men today. There's a lot of lack of purpose, right? So you are trying to juggle 100 different things, figuring out who you are and where you want to go. And, you get out of high school and everybody, I know I did the same thing to my kids. And I'm like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Who do you, I got two boys right now, 14 and 17, and they're going through the exact thing right now, right? They're going through what we're talking about. And you know what it is we used to have an actual, I would say this is the second part, okay? Let's move on to the second
Mhm.
part. I would say, first of all, you have to subtract what is not adding to your victory, your overarching purpose or mission. And that means if you are, big problem right now is if you have, you're vaping or you're doing, some kind of different drugs or whatever, and it's clouding your mind. First of all, instead of adding a be a better man program and figure this all out, subtract the vaping and the bad habits and over excessive masturbation and all these things. They're gonna cloud your brain. All of it's gonna cloud your brain. Stop trying to chase all the women and do all this. Focus on yourself. You have to build the pyramid and the pillar that you are. You have to build that first. Your temple comes first. So I would say stop trying to think addition first. Look at subtraction. What can you take away that is harming your progress and your success forward? Right. So
Oh,
that's
that's so good because John Maxwell, two of my mentors, John Maxwell and Stephen Kotler, say the exact same thing. John Maxwell would say, "You've got to give up to go up." So
love it.
start
Love
with
it.
the subtraction first before you ever consider addition. You'll be amazed at how many anchors you're dragging.
I messed that
Um,
up. I didn't know that. Nobody taught me that. I wish I would have known that.
yep.
You said that to me, but it was after I already went through hell and had to figure it out myself. But
Yeah.
still, you
Stephen
know it.
Kotler would tell you in flow science, so the state of flow where
Yep.
you lose track of time and you're in total creativity mode, applying
Yep.
your strengths and talents. One of the biggest flow blockers are all the distractions that you have in your life
Yes.
that would explain why flow doesn't show up in your life very often, that it's hit or miss. Well, Stephen Kotler says, no, flow, we can instigate flow states, but we've got to get rid of some flow blockers. And that one of the first ones we go through in a coaching exercise is what do we remove that is a distraction from you getting into the most creative space possible.
Totally
So
agree.
it's amazing what people are distracted by these days, from the addictions you talked about to the poor habits,
Yep.
to just being misaligned with their own values, their knowledge, their skills, their attitude, you name it. Stephen Kotler says start taking away before you reach maximum creativity opportunities.
Yeah.
So good point there, Cody.
I totally agree. And I didn't know this. I wish if I had to tell myself, go back in time, 10, 15, 5 years, whatever time it is, that's it. That's one of the pieces of advice that I would give myself, because I've been in flow state and I know how to get in flow state. And I'm currently really in a good rhythm right now to find my flow state. I know exactly, I've read that book. I know exactly what to do. And holy shit, before I knew all of this, I I would have myself so distracted and so procrastinated. And that's what most people are going through. And then they're like, oh, hey, I've got ADHD. They go to the doctor and tell them this. And then they're like, okay, here you go. Here's some Ritalin, or here's some, I forgot the other one there,
Adderall.
Adderall. And then you get this up and then you crash, and you get this up. And then when you naturally get so much dopamine from doing something like that, something exciting and something that gives you that, you naturally seek out something higher than that. So dopamine is like this tail that you just keep on chasing. And you, by the time all of a sudden you started with listening to loud music, and then you went and got an energy drink, and then you're climbing a mountain, and it just keeps going because you need more dopamine. And we have very quick access to cheap dopamine in the modern world right now. We live in a bubble. And that's why you see a lot of these young men that are at home playing video games and going crazy with social media and staying up late and not having any type of real purpose and doing drugs. And I mean, my 14-year-old, my 17-year-old come home, and they're in two different schools, and they talk about how all these dudes and all these girls are getting high and smoking all day long at 14, 15, 16, 17 because they need their binky. They need that binky 24/7 to take away the stress of reality. They don't have any purpose. They hate going to school. They hate doing these things. So it's, if somebody could, we should have a youth education program. And we used to, I did, and it was, I don't want to say it, but it was Boy Scouts at the time. But my father was in charge of it. So it wasn't a bad Boy Scout, how a lot of Boy Scouts turned out. But he would literally take charge of that situation and be like, hey, here's some standards, here's some rules, here's some things you guys got to abide by and think about. And all the other dads were scared to say that, but my dad said it, and it was just authentic coming through. So my friends, check this story out real quick. We had a guys' weekend, and my buddy has a cabin, and a couple of my friends are troopers and sheriffs, and the other one takes guys out on hunting expeditions in Montana, and like they're really cool dudes. Everybody came in and gathered at this our one buddy's cabin, and I knew the significance that my family and I played in a few of my friends' lives because we were a really good home. My dad was really authentic and hardcore and ruthless Harley rider. He still rides Harleys to this day. He's got 3 in his garage right now. And so, anyways, he would treat everybody with such respect, and he would mess with them also and have fun with them, but buy them things and include them in. I've had 4-wheelers and dirt bikes and all these things my whole life. And he's like, hey, you want to ride that, Luis? Or you want to ride that, David, or whatever? And these were some kids that were from like not so good families. And they were, long story short, when I was at the fire at this weekend, they let it out and told me like how awesome my family was. And we're all grown up in our own lives and everything, man. We're gone. We have kids, we have marriages, we have all these different places we live. We don't really get together much. Now that we got together and we made it like a tradition, because this is something also that you need to do as a man. You got to have some kind of tradition of brotherhood that you can. I saw you went to Brian Pruitt's
Amazing. Yes.
ever since you turned me on to him, man, I'm on him. I love him. He's cool.
He's the
He's
real deal. Talk about authentic
real.
and solid with his uh spirituality, his physicality. Yeah,
I love
he's the
him.
personification of what we're talking about for sure.
Absolutely. So huge shout out to him. Love him. I follow his stuff. He's kind of what I desire to emulate in my own way as well. But with all that being said, at that fire, those guys told me the impact that my father had because they didn't have very strong fathers or fathers at all. And the impact that my masculine father, authentic masculine father, had on them, and knowing what it had on me, that's just kind of like what I want to be. That's what I want to do. And that reassured it again. It gave me more proof to the pudding. And that was just a random moment that I wasn't even thinking about any of this. And they hit me with it. And I haven't seen the one guy in like over 10, 15 years. So
Wow.
that was one of the things he told me at the fire. So it was awesome. I really, really think that having the mentorship, having those friends, the brotherhood, working on yourself, but you also need to find somebody to help challenge you and hold you accountable. So if you don't have the money for a coach or there's not any free information, hook up with a buddy and you and that buddy go and challenge each other. They say champions come in pairs of two because they battle themselves into perfection. So it's not really perfection, but they battle each other into progress. They hold each other accountable. Hey, dude, I'm here at the gym. Where are you? Hey,
Mm.
man, I'm here doing this. What are you doing? Hey, did you stop smoking this week? I do that with many of my friends right now. And that's how we keep a really close bond. We hold each other accountable. And the real friends that you have in your life will push you, will challenge you, will check you. They will hold space for you, as you said in the beginning.
Yeah, that's really good. I love the fact that you have to be challenged. It's that disruption of your comfort zone that's going to
It
get you into growth. I tell a lot of my coaching clients who do find themselves in the
is.
comfort zone that it's a great place to visit. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but it's a terrible place to stay, and it's a terrible place to plant your flag. And that's what I appreciate about you, Kody, is you have planted your flag in consistently disruptive ways that I think are uh, I want to say you have planted so many flags in not a straight line, but in a different enough pathway forward that illustrates, I think, the realistic journey
Yes.
that most people are going to experience. It's not linear. Your decision to growth is not a straight line. What I think you've shown is that it's about the next step and conquering it, and then that's going to show you what the next step is, and it might be over here, and then the next one might be over here. So all this perfection that we seek in linear, easy path, it's just not it. I think
No.
your journey and my journey, albeit different, were milestones of achievement that revealed the answers to us,
I
that
like
we
that.
are on the right direction rather than revealing the answer to us. I think we just get little nudges every time we make a move in whatever direction. We weave ourselves into the journey that we were designed to be on in the first place.
You couldn't have said it any better. That is exactly how I feel. And I feel like everybody is capable of that, even if you don't have that father figure, you don't have that surrounding. There are so many great people like you and I that I have tons of free content out there, and I'm giving away some of my best content for free. I want to help you. I want to build this community. I want to give you some kind of purpose and meaning to your life instead of having a meaningless life, because I've lived that a few times and I've felt that, and it hurts, it sucks, it's
Mm.
lonely. And when we look at what's happening now with men, we are the loneliest we've ever been. What's funny is I was watching this podcast, and they came out with the study saying for men's mental health that you need 2 times a week of guys' nights, right?
I
So
saw
you're
that. That was pretty amazing.
So what's funny is this podcast went into the comment section that was like 100,000 comments deep. And they went through each one and kind of saw what the overarching feel was on what people thought about that. And this is a legitimate it's like eudaimonia, right? You ever heard that word?
Yep.
Like it's not just hedonic pleasure that I feel good. It's eudaimonia. It's the Greek word for like purpose and mission, and it's more than that. Now, in that study, they show that these guys are saying like, man, my mental health feels real good, and 2 times a week of having little guys nights doesn't got to be at the bar, but having guys nights, just having a couple of your buddies around or together with somebody, really pushes that feeling of that eudaimonia. But in the comment section, there are mostly women bitching and arguing that, oh, men need to, oh, go cry me a river. You need 2 nights a week with your boys down at the bar and da 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 and all this stuff. So they came down on it with hellfire. And it was overwhelming women picking and pulling the pieces apart on that. They didn't even bring up the study once. They just pick and pulled that, oh, well, I need a night out too. And I don't, that doesn't, who cares about that? Like, get over it. Pull up your big boy pants. There were so many comments, hundreds of thousands that they went through, and they just said that 95% of all the comments were women pulling down the fact that men don't need 2 nights a week, and that study's bullshit. And
Ooh.
it just, I was so infuriated, but then I just chilled out and I was like, it is so crazy because when you look at statistics, men are single-handedly leading suicide right now.
No doubt. No doubt.
Right now, the average man has zero friends, zero close friends that he can call on. That is the average. I was listening to Chris Williams' podcast, and he said, right now, the average from asking questionnaire men is zero close friends that they can go and call on. The
Mm.
average. That is mind blowing, and that's very lonely. And you wonder why most of the terrible things that happen are from lonely, sad, depressed,
Isolated people. Yeah.
isolated people, right?
Yeah.
And it, in the next step of where you need to go with that as well, you have to control your emotions, because another powerful sentence here is that when your emotions go up, your intelligence goes down. Your intelligence goes down. So when you have super high emotions, your thought processes are not clear. Your emotions are scattered. So I highly recommend, especially for any young boys, any men, anybody really, that you have some kind of gratitude practice, some kind of meditation practice, go to the gym and work out and get that energy out of your battery, because you won't have that anxiousness then. More than likely, you'll be a little bit calmer and a little bit more able to be authentic and not have this extra anxiety energy that you're just spewing out in your life. And then when emotional things happen, like a breakup, you don't go and hurt the girl, or you don't go and smash a car. This is where emotional practice comes in. You have to harness your emotions, especially as a boy, because your testosterone and your aggression and all your emotions are just flurrying. And they're like, well, where do we go? What do we do? Channel that energy, channel that hormonal surge into the purpose and the direction you want to go. And I say, number one and foremost, it's the 4 pillars I coach from, but it's power. And that is your physical body. That is you taking your health and your physical body over and completely giving yourself the one pillar that controls everything else in your life, and that's your physical health. If you are not healthy, you can't really have a great time in any other area of your life. It's miserable and it sucks. And subsequently, when you put your energy into that, you feel great because you've got a reciprocation of energy back from doing the workouts and burning fat and now fitting in a better t-shirt and feeling comfortable in your own skin, right? That was my only goal from day one of all of the middle school years and stuff, was I just want to be comfortable in my own skin. And then once I'm always holding that, I can always shoot for more performance. I can always change and get abs. I can always do whatever I want. But until that time, I have to focus on me and my physicality first and foremost. And I'd say that for men, that is the thing that you should do, especially when you're younger. I have created my own misogi, or rite of passage, so to speak, for my own boys. So I have this all in my coaching platform as well. But one day I'm like, man, these kids are fucking soft. Like they are just so soft, and we make life so easy for them. And I read the Comfort Crisis and started understanding about the Masogi journey, the physical endeavor that is going to be so hard. You have 50% chance of failing, 50% chance of making it through and doing it. So I started that practice. And I would go to the Grand Canyon. I would go to the Adirondacks and climb the highest peak and just push myself with all these physical hard challenges that I could fail at. And every time I got stronger and better and just more elevated version of myself after I did this. And then I was sitting there banging my head against the wall one day going, how do I help these kids? How do I help these kids? How do I help these boys just have such a hard time nowadays because the entire society, it's a whole nother conversation. Entire society has switched where we needed men to build the world. The world was built by men, period. We're the ones in the sewer. We're the ones at war. We were the ones that went out and did the nasty shit. We were expendable because you only need one man to repopulate, right? We couldn't send our women out there. We don't want to send our women out there. Men were born to defend. We were born for that shit. We're built bigger, stronger. We're built for it. So that when the devil comes to the gates, the men stand guard and protect the women and the children and the innocents. And the thing with that is that I never had, I forgot where we were just at with that. Why was I on that topic?
So you were going through your pillars of coaching, starting with
The,
physical.
got you. All right, I'm back on track. Sorry, I'm back on track. I love ranting off on this, but I'm back on track. Hold on, I'll close this up. So with my boys, I'm trying to teach them that they are now at the age that they need to go through something hard, like I have been doing, to become a man, to take on that responsibility that is their duty. Because instantly, instinctually, when a cat or a dog comes running at my little daughter, my boys instantly jump in front and try to protect her. So they have this instinct already in them to protect and defend, but they've never been through hard things. So now I taught them the misogi, and now I have this really hard passing of the torch, basically like, hey, you're a little boy before at 14 and 15 and whatnot, and you're a consumer. That's the difference between a boy and a man. You're turning to be a producer, and that is your duty. You have to go through some hard challenges and understand your responsibility as a young man growing into a man that's going to lead your life and possibly have a family. That's why we're here, to procreate. I developed everything that I am doing right now to lead those kids, is what I'm saying. And that's why I'm so damn passionate about the Lambs Alliance journey and creating that community that I've created, because this is how I'm going to do it, by shining my light, by my boys being the prime example like I was of my father. Now I told my son, hey, I'm 2.0. Your job is 3.0. And you keep continuing to go on like that. It's your duty to carry on the bloodline and the name. And you got some weight on your shoulders. Like, I'm not going to give it up easy. I have a board right now. Lastly, I'll tell you this. I have a board on my wall right in my office, and it says the Better Man Challenge. And it's got everything, all the rules, and then it's got what I challenge my boys to at any given time, any given place. It's a game of basketball, sprinting, push-ups, whatever you want to challenge me on. I will bet you $50 that I beat you. So I am leading that way and carrying the torch. And guess what? What they don't know is $50 really isn't much to see them surpass me. That is what I'm really doing it for. And they don't understand that. Like, you just always want to win and da-da-da. And now they're getting it. So it's really powerful. I have that board and I have how many times I've defended my title. And right now there's 24 slashes on there that I've defended the title. But it's really just leading the example and being the role model to them.
Yeah, I love the community you're building, Kody. And clearly, we didn't have time to get to the rest of your coaching framework, but I know people can find that. And I know people can find access to your community. Kody, how can they do that?
Yeah, if you just go to lambsdelions.com, that's going to be where you can either access my community and or book a 15-minute discovery call with me, where I just will have this discovery call and meet you where you're at and try to see if we can align to build the life and the purpose that you're actually looking for. So if that is something you're interested in, you go right to lambsalliance.com. And then every other handle on Instagram or TikTok or whatnot is Lambs with a Z, the number two, Lions with a Z. So that's where you can find me. And I'm always open to help anybody. So shoot me a message if you need to, and or book a call or ask me more.
Yeah, I would highly encourage if this message resonated with you in any shape, form, or fashion, just get on the phone call with Kody. He will see through your bullshit story. He will see the soul of the man, and he will transform your life. So,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Kody, thank you very much for your time today. You're a gentleman and a scholar, a man I love and respect. So, thanks for being here. This is just for your information, Kody.
I was
We've
going
got
to
to
say
have
the
another
same thing.
conversation because this wasn't enough. And
Um,
unfortunately, we're stuck with a period of time, but I'm
yeah,
going to have
all
you
good.
back on the show very soon, my brother.
Yeah, many more to come. I appreciate you so much, Edwin. I hope you have a great day, man. Love you.